So, um, I want to say thank you to a teacher who is also a mentor. I was thinking about this a lot today because I have a memento from him that he gave me. It's from the AIDS quilt. So it just gives you an idea of the time period we're talking about, the late 90s. It was a fundraiser, and part of the AIDS quilt had come to my school, my college. So I was very familiar with it, and I was also an activist, and HIV/AIDS activists and visibility around those sorts of issues were very much a part of gay liberation at that time. I think luckily we've moved on, and those things are much more mainstream. Unfortunately, so is the disease. But this guy, this was a person who was at the time, I believe, an associate dean at our university. We would have dinner sometimes, or not dinner, we would have lunch sometimes, and just talk. And to have an older gay person to just absorb their knowledge and perspective and way of being in the world, it's unimaginable to be who I am today if not had I not had those gay mentors throughout my life. It meant that I had to um, blur, I think, what many people would call a line, because I'm currently living and working in the UK in the university environment. I think it would be shunned on for a staff member to develop such a mentee relationship where you would have meals together, talk about gay life together, or talk about, something outside of your very kind of narrow ideas of what professionalism is. What those things mean here in the UK are culturally very, very different than from where I come from. And of course, my idea is to adapt and do what's appropriate here, because you don't want to be the odd one that shocks people. But it is interesting to note just how different it is. I experienced it also. I was fortunate enough to study African American Studies, Oakland College as well. And there are a couple of professors in particular that we would develop this kind of mentor-mentee relationship with. Some were artists, and so you get to see an entire different side of your tutor when you're in the arts as a practice. I mean, literally, you stare at each other's bodies, and you get to know and contort, but you also get to see each other's soul, I think, in a way that's much more direct than many other disciplines. I would certainly say that even in the disciplines, in the academic disciplines of Black studies, the teachers themselves had firsthand knowledge of what they were talking about, whether it be the historical impacts that led us to modern Black identities around the world and what that differently means for us, the people, the politics, the cultures that comprise this vast diaspora. Well, it also, the people who were teaching it had a role in this. And the funny thing about it is, so does everyone, because probably when you're thinking this, you're thinking that I'm only talking about Black people. And I could be, but it is that in that it isn't just that, but it's in that cultural space of this particular discipline where it's also more accepted, or perhaps more visible, that the tutors, the teachers would understand that part of what they're doing academically is being a mentor to their students. And so there were lots of us who had individual relationships with different tutors that we connected to. I was very fortunate in this respect as well. Again, it strikes me because I try to negotiate this cross-culturally. I, of course, teach a lot of students from different parts of the world, and unlike what's expected here in the UK, they also expect a more personable relationship with their tutors. It's a way for them to see and interpret the world through how their tutors mentor them. And so when that's lacking, I think students can sometimes struggle to find that, because what I've explained to students is they now have to be the ones to raise the expectation with the adults around them that they would mentor them, that they would have to be the ones to say, hey, I'm going to get off my phone, I'm going to sit here and pay attention to whatever it is you have to say or whatever it is you're doing, because after all, it is also that as a mentor that keeps us connected to intergenerationally to the world as it's changing around us. So just some food for thought. Again, thank you, Ken.